welcome to today's video, and I'm very excited today. We have got Alexa Whitten with us, and Alexa is the owner and director of the Book Refinery. Now, if you've got a book inside you and you want to position yourself as an expert, Alexa is the person to go to help you get your book written and published. Thank you very much for your time, and welcome, Alexa.
Hi Tony, nice to speak to you.
Excellent. So the first thing I want to talk to you about today is that there is this sort of perception that as soon as you've written a book, you almost immediately become an expert, and that's a really good way to help to position yourself and your business in particular. So just help us understand a little bit more about that.
I think it's a long-held perception that people that write books are an expert in what they're writing about. And of course, obviously, you do need to have an in-depth knowledge in order to be able to write a book. But I think because people perceive it as a difficult thing to do, and actually it's not when you know how, people just regard authors as experts. And it's a really interesting concept, because one of the quickest way to propel yourself as an expert, and let's face it, a lot of people want to be able to deal with experts when they're choosing a service provider. Writing a book is a really, really quick way in which to do that. So it's a really good way, and a lot of people think it's complicated, but it's not. The
thing is, yeah, well, that's what I was going to say, is that a lot of people will think, oh, you know, writing a book, sure, that's what other people do. That's just not for me. That's not for my business. So, you know, what would you say to people that think in that way?
Well, if they think in that way, then they're obviously then this expert author concept is working really, really well. But what I've come up with is a really quick and easy plan for people, business owners who aren't necessarily good writers, of being able to get their expertise down on paper. And actually, it's a very simple process when you know what the plan is. I call it the blueprint plan.
Okay.
And as you know, Tony, from writing a book yourself, that once you've got this plan in place, it's actually very, very easy then just to fill in the blanks, and before you know it, you've got 74 pages of A4, and that can then be turned into a book. Exactly.
I mean, I think what I found was that it's all very well kind of doing the brain dump and getting it all down on paper, but you then need to get a bit of structure to it and get a narrative working through it. So just tell us a little bit more about the blueprint, so that people can understand what do they need, for example, to do. How do they get started? Do they just look at their frequently asked questions, or how does it?
Well, the best place to start actually is to come up with a title for the book.
Okay.
Now, people think, oh, good, I don't know how to do that. But actually, all it needs to be is a headline, and it needs to cover your customer's biggest challenge.
Right.
So that actually is very easy. It can be done over brainstorming. You can do it with me. You can do it with people in your business. What is your customer's biggest challenge? When you found that out, and most business owners of a service provider should already know that.
Yeah.
And in fact, they do. They just don't realise they do.
Yeah.
Once they know that, they can then put that in a headline, put it on top of an A4 piece of paper, and that actually can be the title of your book. Once you've started with that, it's amazing then how your creative process then starts working. You automatically start thinking of little subtitles that can go underneath that. And that really is the basis of the blueprint plan. We get the title of the book in the centre, and then from that we stem 6 subheadings, and those are the chapters of your book. And then if you're working with me with coaching, we can then basically, it's just then filling in bullet points to those 6 headings, and then you fill in each bullet point. And before you know it, honestly, it's not difficult. You've got 74 pages of A4 of A4 paper, so it's really, really simple.
And what's the sort of what's the minimum amount? I guess one of the concerns people have is, oh, how much do I need to write, and how much can I actually write? Is there a sort of minimum amount, a maximum amount? What's the?
Well, I mean, we can start with 20 pages. I mean, you might even find you actually have a report written already on your computer.
Yep.
You know, a lot of business owners have free reports that they give away. That's a great starting point. You might already have blog posts on your website already. We can string those together. I mean, I've had someone come to me literally with 10 pages, and from that we have developed a 128-page book.
Wow.
Don't get too distracted with that number of pages I've just quoted, because there are some formatting tricks as well that we can implement to bulk up your pages as well. But yeah, no, I mean, you can start literally with 10 pages as a starting point. We can go from there.
Okay, so we've got the content, we've worked it through. I mean, what do I do now? Do I go and get a book deal? Do I find a publisher? I mean, how does all that work?
Well, actually, no, you self-publish. And again, a lot of people have a misconception that self-publishing is really difficult. It's actually not. It's very simple when you know how. I would always suggest getting some help with that process, because there are a few, fences that you need to cross or jump or whatever to get yourself self-published. But when you know what to do, and someone like a book coach or someone like me that does this, full time, then we can take you literally by the hand, and we need to, and I almost actually do the whole thing for you, so you don't even need to worry about it. But you don't need to go to a publisher to get a publishing deal. You don't need to go and get a literary agent, which a lot of people think you do. Come to someone that knows how to self-publish, and then you self-publish the book. It's as simple as that.
And then what? You get it in printed format, electronic format, Kindle version?
You can do as many or as few of those as you want. We can start out with a PDF downloadable version. But there are a lot of those out there. I mean, the ebooks now are, everyone's got some sort of ebook on their website. So I always suggest we take that ebook and we go that one step further and actually getting it published into a proper physical printed copy of a book.
I mean,
that really is like a glorified business card. It's something tangible. It's something they can hold. And just going that extra mile, that little bit further, which is actually no more work for you as the business owner, because I take care of all of that. It is amazing how gone from an ebook to a physical book, again, propels you that you are an expert in the field.
So basically what you're saying is, okay, it's all very, having stuff on your website in electronic format, that's great, but there's no substitute for having the physical book in your hand. That confers a sort of level of authority and credibility.
And you're putting your money where your mouth is, because everyone knows that printing a book, I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and say, oh, it's the cheap, it's really, really cheap option. It's not. There is an investment, obviously, that you need to pay out. But I think the cost of your book to print was what, £1.90?
Yes, yeah, exactly. That's what I was going to say. I mean, it was certainly. I think it was less than £1.50 per book. If I mean, that's sort of a couple of dollars if you're watching, in the States or whatever it is. But it's a fairly cheap or fairly low cost effective way of promoting yourself, definitely. And the quality is amazing. It's you really. You feel
and when you're sending it to people and you get that thud factor of this book comes through the mailbox, and they open it up and there is a proper professional looking bound book in their hands. I mean, you can't get that kind of expertness, as I called it, from an ebook that you download on your computer. No, I mean, the two just don't go. The two don't really match.
Okay, but ultimately, we're writing a book because this is about generating more business. This is a marketing tool, isn't it? So inside the book, tell us a little bit about calls to action and this type of thing, because I know you're really, really hot on this, and it's a very important point that people do understand this.
Well, I mean, it's all very well having a book. I mean, that's fantastic. That's step one. But step two is your book actually doesn't give away the secret formula for turning lead into gold. That's not the idea of the book.
Okay.
Your book is a teaser. Your book is a vehicle to show that you are an expert. So you structure the book so that you're agitating the problem. You don't give away the secret to the kingdom of then how to then solve the problem. The call to actions then, which are scattered throughout the book, they lead on to a higher priced back-end service that you then offer. And this is where you then make the big money. This is where people say, right, this book tells me I need to sort my problem out, and this is obviously the person I need to go to. So the call to action is tailored, it's specific for each chapter, but you don't need to worry about thinking that might be complicated, because I can help you with all of that. But it is tailor-made to a back-end service, obviously, which is then a much higher price than the cost of the book to begin with.
So if we go back to the beginning, then, so we start off, we get an outline sketch, okay.
Yeah.
We then, these, and we could be repurposing, reusing old material
stuff
that we've
you've already got on your
exactly
computer,
from blogs or on your hard drive or whatever.
Emails, all the rest of it.
Absolutely. We pull that together into a sort of an outline sketch of a report. First point is we get a headline and a title, don't we? That's the issue that we're going to address in the book.
Do. You can do you can do that yourself. That's not a problem.
So we then flesh it out. We create a book. We get it published. We don't need a publisher. It's fairly low cost to get it published. We make sure that we have a call to action in the book, which then will bring the reader back to your website where you can engage, because now you're positioned as an expert. You can then engage in a much higher value transaction, if you like.
Yes.
Okay,
yeah. I mean, you've demonstrated your expertise, and the call to action then gets the people from reading the book back to your website, and that's the most important thing, because the whole point of this exercise is to get more customers into your sales funnel, and these customers who have read your book generally are more targeted and more ready to buy than someone that you've just done a blank email email out to. So those people that are coming from your book obviously are probably at the stage of they're ready to buy, or they're ready to go a little bit further with your company. So that's why the call to actions are really important, to have that in the book so they know how to get that then in touch with you. Okay, so if anyone watching who's watching this, they're thinking, I've got that book in me, I need to get it out, they can contact you and your team at the bookrefinery.com, and you can take the whole thing end to end, the whole end-to-end process, and publish from idea right through concept right through to publishing. There's a nice little report that I've got on my website, which is the www.thebookrefinery.com. If they just put their name and email address into the little box on the right hand side, they'll get that free report. It's about 22 pages, I think, and it goes through what we've spoken about in this interview. So how to get your headline, how to get the blueprint plan started. Brilliant. And it even gives you some ideas of how to write the book. I mean, you don't just have to sit at a keyboard and write. There are lots of other ways. You can record it and get it transcribed. You can take information that you've already got on your website and use that, so repurpose information. And then it tells you also how to then go ahead and print it into a book. But a lot of business owners don't necessarily have the time to be able to do all of this for you. So there are call to actions in there that if they feel like they'd like to get a book coach, which is what my company does, and to get me on board, then obviously talk to me and we can look at doing that. Brilliant. And I can definitely vouch for Alexa's services. She's absolutely brilliant. Well, I think that's pretty much it. I think you've answered all of my questions, given us a really good overview and an insight into what's increasingly becoming more and more important in terms of marketing. Marketing and publishing are kind of merging. And getting a book is definitely a way to position yourself as an expert. So thank you very much. I think it's a way that a lot of people think it's too difficult to do. And it's not. It really is very simple. So if you're really serious about, yes, you've got a lot of information on there and you just don't know how to get it out there, a book is a really, really valuable tool in which to just show that you really know what you're talking about. Brilliant. Okay, well, thanks very much for your time. That was really, really interesting, and I'm sure we're going to get loads of comments below, and you can answer those questions as well. Okay. Brilliant. Okay, thanks, Tony. Lovely. Thanks, then, Alexa. Okay. Bye. Bye.